David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another stay-at-home fountain pen review. Today I have for you a pen from the brand Venvstas. A few weeks back I reviewed another pen from Venvstas called the Magna, which was released after the pen we're going to be looking at today, which is called the Carbon T and was the very first model the brand produced. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Venvstas Carbon T, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample with a rather vibrant ink. Thanks go out to Venvstas for providing this pen for review. Venvstas was originally based out of France, but is now headquartered in Italy. If you'd care for some more detailed company history, you can check out my review of the Magna. The pen arrives in this box and is made from recycled cardboard, and it's an interesting design. The outer sleeve slides off, and inside we have this box with the Venvstas logo. Now, the Venvstas name is unique. It's spelled in Latin, where the letter U does not exist, but it is phonetic, so that it is Venvstas is how you actually spell it. The company name is a reference to the philosophy of an ancient Roman architect by the name of Vitruvius. He believed that buildings should have three main qualities, and please forgive my Latin. There was firmitas, meaning a building needed to be solid, vitalitas, which meant it needed to serve a purpose, and finally Venvstas, meaning it needed to be beautiful. The lid of the box comes off. There is a little flap here, and then inside we have the pen. This is the Venvstas Carbon T. Now, Venvstas offers two different models. There is this Carbon T and then the aforementioned Magna, which is larger in most aspects and has a different section and nib design. I'll actually show it during the size comparison so you can see the difference. The pen is made from a linear carbon fiber. I showed this during the Magnum review, but there is a microscope shot of the material right here, which runs vertically throughout the pen. Carbon fiber construction is typically either linear, like you see here, or it is woven, as you see here on this Monteverde Regatta Sport, which I reviewed a while back. I like carbon fiber as a material. It's light, it's extremely durable, and on this pen, I care for the matte feel. Let's take a look at the top of the cap. There, it is adorned with the Venvstas logo. The cap is straight and has a smooth angled transition to the section. And then there's another transition angled in the opposite direction from the section to the barrel. The only exterior feature are these tiny screws, one on the section and one near the end of the barrel. The function of these screws is to secure the interior parts of the pen. Now, these screws are actually designed to be used on the tips of épée fencing swords. Now, you know how you can crawl down YouTube rabbit holes? I wanted to look into those screws to understand what they were used for, and I found myself watching a bunch of fencing videos. So now all the videos that YouTube suggests I watch are mostly fencing related. So it'll take a while for that to cycle out. The end of the barrel is cut at an angle, and there is a rounded carbon fiber piece encircled by a groove. You pull the cap to remove it. It's not a snapping mechanism, more of just friction fit. Now, there's an issue that I've experienced with this cap. You see, it's rather small. And for the most part, you're used to the cap of a pen kind of coming down to about here. Let me pull these apart just a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here is the transition between the cap and the section, and then right here is the transition between the section and the barrel. When you're uncapping this pen, you have to make sure that you're gripping this part here on the section. Let me push this together so you can kind of see what happens. If you happen to be holding the barrel a little bit further back, like you typically do with other pens, and you end up pulling the section away when you try to take off the cap. So holding it closer to the end is something that you really have to stay conscious of when you're uncapping this pen. Once you've successfully removed this cap, underneath is a uniquely shaped stainless steel nib. It's available in either fine, medium, or broad. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The side view of this nib and section is interesting. There's the angled end of the section, and then beneath the nib, there's a piece of metal going in the opposite angle. Just so you can see the difference between the models, here it is compared to the Magna. The section is straight on the Carbon T, and while it doesn't have any ridges or a curve, I do find the carbon fiber to provide an adequate grip. I don't find it slipping around at all. The pen does post. The metal part here just slips into that groove on the end of the barrel, and you do have to insert it at the correct orientation in order for the angles to match up. Once posted, I feel this pen is comfortable in the hand. While it is a bit long, it is fairly light and it's not unwieldy at all. As you saw previously, the Carbon T is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges and a converter is provided. You'll get a better look at it during the writing sample, but you can see here I have this loaded up with a very bright pink ink, something cool that you'll want to stay tuned for. Now, I did run into some issues with this pen. When inking it up, I found that the ink was very easy to get into the area directly around the nib, as well as the groove where the cap is inserted. With the pink ink, you could really get a look at what's going on here. Now, I did my best to clean it out with the tissue, but it was a very difficult thing to extract. Then the ink that went down the groove leaked down the pen and made its way to the end of the section. For this pen, I would suggest removing the converter and filling it with ink rather than sucking the ink up through the feed. This pen is also a bit difficult to clean. Typically, I would use a bulb syringe in order to push some warm water through the feed, but with this long piece of metal right here, more specifically this slit that's in here, it poses some issues. A standard bulb syringe really can't fit all the way in here to make contact with the end of the feed, so water kind of squirts out the side here. So what you need to do is kind of hold your finger over the edge to kind of plug the slit there, and then you can apply water. It can be done, but it was a bit challenging. As a whole, I do care for the looks of this pen. I am fond of pens that don't look like anything else in my collection, and this pen is certainly that. The Venvstas Carbon T is available through the Venvstas site, as well as select retailers, and retails for right around $140, which I feel is a bit on the high side in regard to the value window for this pen, but not unreasonable. It's something that makes for a very good companion pen to the Magna. So now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Venvstas Carbon T. First up, here it is with the Venvstas Magna. Then here it is with a Pilot Falcon. And then finally, here it is with a Diplomat Arrow. And in regard to some other comparisons, here it is with a Platinum 3776 Carnelian. Then here it is with a Franklin Christoph Model 66. And then finally, I have a pen from Ryan Krusak that I think is pretty cool. It is made from ebony heartwood. And it is also made from ebony sapwood. You see that there is a tree, and basically the middle of the tree is black, this ebony wood, and then the outer portion of the tree is this sapwood. So that it really makes this really neat transition. And so this is not two different pieces of wood put together. This is one solid piece of wood, and this is just the transition portion of the tree. And I just think it is pretty amazing. And that's what it looks like in comparison to the Venvstas. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, this is what it looks like with the Diplomat Arrow. And then this is what it looks like with the Franklin Christoph Model 66. And then finally, here it is with the 3776 Carnelian. So here we go with the writing sample for the Venvstas Carbon T. This is a broad stainless steel nib, and the very vibrant ink I'm using today is Kala Neon Pink. Kala is a ink company based out of Taiwan. This is what the neon pink ink looks like. I can't say that I have too many other colors that compare to that, so I'll show you a couple other of their inks in their neon line. This is the neon orange, which I really like, and then here is neon yellow. This is what the bottle looks like. It does have a bit of a Pepto-Bismol look to it, but look for an ink review for this neon line coming up in the somewhat near future. Okay, on to the rest of the writing sample. For a broad nib, I find this nib to be a bit on the medium side of broad, and I can't say that it's especially smooth. It could probably use with a little bit of smoothing and tuning. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of here. I do find that the ink flow is sufficient coming out of here. In regard to some reverse writing, it's a little bit scratchy, but gets the job done. And then in regard to some fast writing, it doesn't have any problems in keeping up. So there we have the Venvstas Carbon T. An interesting pen that looks a little bit different than anything else I have in my collection, other than that Magna that I showed you, but it's something interesting that you might want to check out. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.